What if everything you trusted wasn't real? What if the life you've built, the people you've held close, the choices you thought mattered, what if they were all shadows, fading faster than you can grasp? And in the silence of that truth, would you even recognize yourself? It starts small, a whisper in your mind that something feels off, like the world is folding just a little differently than yesterday. You push it aside, you tell yourself it's nothing, but nothing grows. It stretches in corners you didn't see, in moments you thought were safe. And suddenly, every smile feels like a mask, every word a hidden weight. You notice the cracks in the walls around you, subtle at first, easy to ignore, but as they widen, they echo. You try to tell yourself it's normal, everyone feels this way sometimes, but deep down, you know. You know that something's shifting, something unseen, something pulling the floor from beneath your feet while everyone else walks like nothing's changed. Trust becomes fragile. People you counted on, the ones you thought would never leave, they hesitate. Their eyes flicker. Their laughter seems rehearsed. You reach out and they flinch. A part of you wants to run, but a bigger part can't, because running isn't the answer. Not yet. You have to know. You have to see how far this goes before it breaks everything you've believed in. Every message, every glance, every silence feels like a clue. But what do they mean? Are you missing something obvious? Or are you imagining the danger because your mind is too loud at night? You remember moments from the past, tiny fragments that didn't make sense back then. Now they line up like stars in a dark sky, forming patterns that terrify you. You wonder if this is always how it's been, if you've just been blind, or if something new has entered your life, something you can't name. And the thought twists your chest. It's not just fear, it's something darker. The feeling that time itself is conspiring, that the world you know is a facade, slowly peeling away. And then it hits, the first undeniable proof, a message you weren't meant to see, a truth too raw to ignore. It changes everything. You look at everyone around you differently now. Every gesture, every word, every silence carries weight. Who can you trust? Who's real? Who's already gone, hiding behind lies you never noticed? You thought you were careful. You thought you were awake. But how do you stay awake when the ground beneath you is made of smoke? You realize the danger isn't outside, it's inside. It's inside you, inside everyone you thought you knew, and maybe inside them too, in ways you can't imagine. The air feels heavier, the night stretches longer, shadows whisper secrets you can't decipher, yet you feel them anyway. And in that moment, a single thought rises above the rest. Maybe you were never meant to understand it all. Maybe knowing too much is exactly what will break you. But if you don't know, if you don't see, how do you survive? How do you prepare for the moment when the truth hits so hard it leaves nothing intact? And when that moment comes, will you even recognize the person staring back at you? You try to push the feeling away. You tell yourself it's just paranoia, a trick of the mind, that your heart is racing because you've been holding too much inside for too long. But the truth doesn't care about excuses. It seeps in quietly at first, through a glance that lingers too long, a word that carries weight it shouldn't. And then it bursts through all at once, like a storm you thought you were prepared for but weren't. Every certainty you had crumbles. Every plan, every hope, every person you thought would be there, there's suddenly fragments scattered across a floor you can't reach. You begin to notice the small betrayals first, the ones that seem meaningless until you trace them back, one by one, until they form a map that terrifies you. Someone smiled at you yesterday, but that smile hides a story you'll never know. Someone said they had your back, but their hand was never truly there. You feel the weight of silence pressing against your chest, heavier with every breath, and you realize that the world you thought you understood is nothing more than a stage, and you've been performing in it without a script, without a choice. The lines between truth and deception blur. Every memory you hold becomes suspect. Did it really happen the way you remember, or did your mind fill in the gaps? Every person you trusted is a question mark now, and you start to see connections that shouldn't exist, patterns that shouldn't align, but they do. The coincidences are too many, too precise. You can't ignore them, you can't run from them, and the more you try to find clarity, the deeper the maze becomes, twisting and folding in on itself until you're not sure if the path you're on leads out or leads straight to the edge. Then there's a sound, a subtle one, almost imperceptible, but it wakes something primal in you. You freeze, heart thudding, senses heightened. Your mind races, searching for the source, but there is none. The air itself seems to hum with intent, and suddenly you understand. You are being watched. Maybe not by someone, maybe not by anything physical, but something is aware of you, tracing your steps, predicting your moves, and the realization is worse than fear. It's a cold, creeping certainty that nothing you do is private, nothing you do is safe. You start questioning everything, your choices, your instincts, the very way you perceive reality. You feel trapped in a room with invisible walls, walls that shift and bend whenever you think you found an opening. You want to scream, but no sound comes. You want to run, but your feet feel like lead. And in the quiet panic that settles over you, one thought dominates all others. What if escaping isn't enough? What if surviving means more than just leaving, more than just hiding, more than pretending you understand? And if that's true, then what are you really capable of? Because when the shadows start moving, when the truths you've ignored begin to step into the light, will you recognize the world, or will you recognize yourself at all?
You start to notice the cracks in your own mind. Thoughts you never had before begin to appear, small at first, almost like whispers, but then louder, sharper. They question everything you thought you knew, about the people around you, about the life you built, about the very choices that define who you are. The world outside hasn't changed. It's still moving, breathing, existing. But inside you, something is breaking, folding into itself, rewriting the rules without asking permission. And the more you fight it, the faster it spreads, like ink spilling across clean paper. You remember the promises you made, the ones you swore you would never break, the ones you swore others would honor. They seem distant now, fragile, almost irrelevant, and in their absence, you feel the gravity of isolation. It's not loneliness, it's something heavier, darker. It's the sense that even if you scream, even if you reach out with everything inside you, no one will answer. And worse, maybe no one even sees the danger the way you do. You're awake while everyone else sleeps. You're seeing patterns they ignore, truths they avoid, and it terrifies you, because being awake doesn't protect you, it only makes you aware of the fall. Then there's the memory that won't leave you, a moment, a second, something you barely noticed before, but now it gnaws at your gut. You replay it over and over, each time seeing it differently, each time uncovering a new detail, a new hint that you missed. It was never small, it was never insignificant, and now you realize that whatever has been creeping into your life, whatever has been watching, it has been there all along, quiet, patient, waiting. And the realization cuts deeper than any threat you imagined, because it's not something you can fight, it's not something you can escape, it's a force that moves through your life like water through cracks in stone, inevitable and unstoppable. You want to warn someone, anyone, but the words feel useless. Who would believe you? Who could understand the weight of knowing what lurks just out of sight? You've tried before, half-heartedly, and seen doubt in their eyes. You've tried again, desperately, and seen fear turn them away.
And now you know, if you want to survive, if you want to uncover the truth, you have to do it alone. But being alone has its own dangers. Shadows whisper your name. Silent forces push, test, and manipulate without ever showing themselves. And in the quiet moments between heartbeats, you understand the cruelest truth. It isn't about surviving what you see, it's about surviving what you can't see. You've come this far. You've noticed the patterns, traced the lies, felt the fear crawling under your skin. But there's a part of you that hesitates, a part that asks the question you don't want to answer. What if seeing the truth is worse than staying blind? What if knowing is the beginning of a chain you can never break? And as that thought settles, as it twists in your chest like a knife, you feel it. A presence just beyond perception, something aware of your every move, measuring your fear, waiting for the exact moment to strike. And then it hits you, a single thought, sharp, unavoidable. What if the danger isn't outside? What if the danger is already inside you? You thought you understood fear. You thought you knew its shape, its weight, the way it twists inside you like a living thing. But this is something different. It's not a single moment or a single threat. It's a constant presence, a shadow in your mind that refuses to leave. Every step you take, every breath you draw, it follows. Sometimes subtle, sometimes overt, always there. And the more you try to ignore it, the more you realize you've already crossed a line. You're no longer the same person who started this journey. That person is gone. Replaced by someone who knows too much, who feels too much, and who can't go back. You begin to question your own instincts. Every decision becomes a gamble, every choice a potential trap. And you start noticing things you never did before, tiny inconsistencies in conversations, small details in environments that feel off, moments that feel staged, rehearsed. Your mind traces connections that may not even exist, but you can't stop, because somewhere deep inside, you know the consequences of stopping are too great. You've become a detective in a world where every clue carries danger, and every truth discovered has the power to shatter everything you thought was safe. People around you act normal. They smile, they laugh, they live their lives as if nothing is wrong, and that's the hardest part. Their normalcy is a mirror, reflecting back what you used to feel, what you used to be. It mocks you, taunts you with the life you can't touch anymore. You try to connect, to explain, to pull someone into the reality you see, but they turn away, eyes glazed, minds untouched. And in that moment, you feel the true weight of isolation, not just physical, but mental, emotional. You are awake while the world sleeps, seeing patterns, feeling the danger, understanding truths no one else notices. And that solitude, it gnaws at you in ways you can't escape. Then it begins to get worse. Small events you might have brushed off before start to repeat, forming cycles that feel deliberate. Doors that shouldn't be open are open. Objects shift, subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. Messages appear that you didn't send. Conversations you didn't have echo in your mind, leaving you unsure if you're awake or dreaming. And the fear evolves. It's no longer external. It's creeping inside, taking root, blurring the lines between what's real and what's imagined. Every reflection, every shadow, every sound could be a sign, a warning, a trap. And your heart knows it isn't coincidence anymore. You realize the stakes are higher than you ever imagined. This is no longer about survival. It's about understanding, about seeing the full picture before it's too late. But the more you see, the more impossible it feels to hold on. The truths you uncover are heavier than you can carry. And the one question that keeps rising, louder than every fear, louder than every doubt, louder than every heartbeat, is this: what if knowing the truth isn't the end of the journey, but the very start of something far more terrifying? And as that thought sinks in, as the shadows around you seem to lean closer, you realize the horrifying possibility. What if the person you trust the most is the one who set all of this in motion? You try to push the feeling away. You tell yourself it's just paranoia, a trick of the mind, that your heart is racing because you've been holding too much inside for too long. But the truth doesn't care about excuses. It seeps in quietly at first, through a glance that lingers too long, a word that carries weight it shouldn't. And then it bursts through all at once, like a storm you thought you were prepared for, but weren't. Every certainty you had crumbles. Every plan, every hope, every person you thought would be there, they're suddenly fragments scattered across a floor you can't reach. You begin to notice the small betrayals first, the ones that seem meaningless until you trace them back, one by one, until they form a map that terrifies you. Someone smiled at you yesterday, but that smile hides a story you'll never know. Someone said they had your back, but their hand was never truly there. You feel the weight of silence pressing against your chest, heavier with every breath.